This is week 170 of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. I'm Belokur, reporting to you from Kyiv, and I'll be taking you through the top stories from Ukraine this week. Last weekend in Kyiv felt like Groundhog Day in the worst way possible. There were loud drone and missile attacks for 3 nights in a row, at a rate unprecedented throughout the invasion. The first night's attacks coincided with the start of the largest prisoner exchange between Ukraine and Russia since the start of the war in 2014, in which 1,000 individuals from each side were exchanged over the course of several days. Last Sunday night saw Russia deploying 355 drones and 9 cruise missiles, marking the largest drone strike since the beginning of the war. 22 locations suffered direct hits, leading to 12 fatalities. In Zhytomyr Oblast, 3 siblings aged 8, 12, and 17 were killed when debris from a Russian cruise missile struck their home. Ukraine struck back at Russia repeatedly during the week as well, with drone attacks temporarily halting flights at Moscow's Domodedovo and Zhukovsky airports, as well as the Kaluga airport, which lies just over halfway between the Ukrainian border and Moscow. On the ground, President Volodymyr Zelensky has reported an estimated 50,000 Russian troops have amassed at Ukraine's northern border, suggesting an increase in assaults on Sumy Oblast is imminent, as offensives intensify along the northern and eastern front lines. Sumy's regional governor Oleg Grigorov claims that Russia is attempting to create a so-called buffer zone in the area to prevent further incursions into Russian territory, like the one in Kursk Oblast. Whether Russia truly thinks it can hold on to territory along a new front, or is just trying to create a distraction, remains to be seen. But either way, it doesn't seem like Russia is gearing down in any sense. While its actions on the battlefield don't indicate that Russia's planning on brokering a ceasefire anytime soon, diplomatic negotiations continue at their now established glacial pace. We have more talks in Istanbul scheduled for tomorrow, as well as another Ramstein format meeting on Wednesday. Russia has laid out the intention to present Ukraine with a so-called peace memorandum tomorrow, the contents of which remain unknown. U.S. President Donald Trump, who last week spoke positively about Russian President Vladimir Putin after their more than 2-hour phone call, said this week after the attacks that Putin has gone crazy and could be triggering the downfall of Russia. We'll have to wait and see whether this annoyance with Putin sticks or evaporates once again. At the Kyiv Independent, we're funded by our readers, or in some cases, our viewers, who donate as little as $5 a month to help us keep the lights on and bring you the news from Ukraine. We don't have paywalls or billionaire owners. We rely on our community. So we've set a goal this year to reach 20,000 members, and we are almost there. And when I say almost, I mean that we are counting every single new edition because it is getting so close. And along with a host of benefits that you'll get when you join, your membership goes directly towards supporting the future of independent journalism in Ukraine. If you'd like to become a part of our community, there will be a link to our membership page in the description below. Germany has announced a €5 billion military aid package for Ukraine, including funding for the production of long-range weapon systems within Ukraine, marking a strategic shift in Germany's engagement with Ukrainian defense manufacturing. The package also includes air defense systems, artillery, land weapon systems, handguns, and support for Starlink satellite communications. Notably, the package did not include Taurus, Germany's long-range cruise missiles, something that Ukraine has long wanted quite badly. However, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz stated that their delivery remains within the realm of possibility, citing the need for extensive training for Ukrainian forces before that could happen. Merz also confirmed that Western partners are no longer imposing range restrictions on weapons delivered to Ukraine, meaning that Ukraine is free to use the weapons to strike military targets on any Russian territory. Although Germany was a notable holdout among allied countries against this issue last year, Merz cited the policy change following the easing of restrictions by the US, UK, and France in late 2024. In addition to the aid package, Germany is planning to send older PAC-2 Patriot missiles to Ukraine to replenish its air defense stockpiles. These missiles, while less effective against ballistic missiles compared to the newer PAC-3 variants, are intended to bolster Ukraine's defenses amid the ongoing Russian air attacks. It was also revealed this week that Germany has set a 2029 deadline to fully arm its military, citing concerns that Russia could pose a direct threat to NATO territory by then. The plan includes strengthening air defenses, enhancing electronic warfare systems, and developing capabilities for deep precision strikes. In discussing future plans, Merz also emphasized Germany's commitment to preventing the reactivation of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, aligning with broader EU efforts to reduce dependence on Russian energy. All in all, the events of the week bode well for German-Ukrainian relations and indicate that Germany may well be waking up to the need for more assertive foreign policy and deepened military-industrial prowess as the future of transatlantic relations, and thus the future of NATO, hangs in question. Our War Crimes Investigations Unit released a new documentary this week, No God But Theirs, in which clergymen from churches banned under Russian occupation share their stories of repression. Their testimonies expose Russia's systematic terror inflicted on Ukrainian Christian communities in the city of Melitopol. The link to the documentary can be found in the description below. Today is historically celebrated as Children's Day in Ukraine. President Zelensky announced on Friday that the holiday will now be moved to November 20th, when the United Nations celebrates Universal Children's Day. Still, the postponed holiday calls to light that children are among those most impacted by Russia's brutal invasion. Hundreds of Ukrainian children have been killed and thousands more injured in Russian attacks since February of 2022. Schools that were barely recovered from the COVID-19 pandemic have been forced underground, and air raid sirens have become a regular sign for Ukraine's children that it's time to head for shelter, often multiple times throughout the day and night. We took a short field trip to see some of Kyiv's kids on their last day of school.
In the last days of May, Ukrainian schools are celebrating the last bell ceremony. And today, the Kyiv Independent visited one of them.
От якраз прибав 8-й клас на війну, 9-й, 10-й, 11-й. Перші декілька місяців ми не вчилися, відповідно, а потім перейшли на дистанційну форму навчання. І після карантину ми вже знаємо, як це робити, тому це було не так складно.
Було таке, що ми, наприклад, тижнями могли не приходити до школи, залишалися вдома на дистанційній формі навчання. Через постійні виключення світла в когось не було інтернету. Було важкувато, але ми справилися. Все-таки вивчилися і поздаємо екзамени.
Звісно, було дуже важко звикнути до того, що треба ходити постійно в укриття. Там іноді бувало таке, що кожні 15 хвилин, і ти просто не можеш провести урок, ти не можеш нічого зрозуміти.
We in Ukraine were the strongest, we're the greatest, and we will win, and we will show everyone that no one can compare with us, and we're the best. І героям слава!
Since February of 2022, over 19,500 Ukrainian children have been identified as forcibly deported to Russia, Belarus, or Russian-occupied territory. Many of these children have been placed in Russian families or camps, subjected to military training, and exposed to intense propaganda aimed at erasing their Ukrainian identity. Reports indicate that children who have returned often recount being punished for speaking Ukrainian and being told that their country no longer wants them. The Ukrainian government relies heavily on international allies to facilitate the return of these children, as it has limited access to their current locations. Negotiations and diplomatic efforts continue, with the safe return of abducted children remaining a central precondition for any future peace negotiations with Russia. But children still aren't being returned at nearly a fast enough rate. In a rare bipartisan effort, U.S. senators introduced a resolution on May 21st calling for the return of the thousands of Ukrainian children abducted by Russia. The resolution emphasizes that no peace agreement to end the war in Ukraine should be finalized until all minors are safely repatriated. It condemns Russia's systematic abduction, forced transfer, and illegal deportation of Ukrainian children, stating that these actions demonstrate an intent to erase the Ukrainian nation and identity. Like I said, this is the rare issue that both sides of Congress agree on. By stealing its children, Russia is stealing Ukraine's future.
In this week's community question, our member Malcolm is asking how do men like Andriy Portnoy manage to leave Ukraine and come back to the country during the martial law. In the case of Andriy Portnoy, who was the ex-top Ukrainian official, it's very important to understand that he was an extremely influential figure in Ukrainian politics, particularly in the law enforcement system. And he was considered to be an architect of the Ukraine's corruptive judiciary. So I can assume that he had multiple connections both in the presidential office and in the law enforcement system. So leaving or coming to Ukraine potentially could be not a problem for him. Andriy Portnoy was 51 years old and reportedly left Ukraine in June 2022. And in general, Ukraine prohibits men aged from 18 to 60 from leaving the country during the martial law. However, there are some exceptions related to their family circumstances, health, work, and education. Andriy Portnoy reportedly, when Russia's full-scale invasion began, he had several little children abroad. So this could be a potential reason for him, a formal reason for him to leave Ukraine.
That's all for this week. We'll be back next Sunday with more news from Ukraine. If you enjoyed this video, please consider becoming a member of the Kyiv Independent community. It's thanks to viewers like you that we get to do this work, and we're so grateful for your support. I'd also like to thank everyone who donates directly via YouTube. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.